that they're going to be nice. The board at this time, if you want to go take a chair in there, would be fine. One of the ground rules for this meeting is we needed to have an informal setting for an applicant and neighbors to discuss the proposal. This is also a potential forum to identify and resolve conflicts early in the development process. This is only advisory in nature and not binding on any of the applicant. For land division proposals, the focus is on proposed configurations of lots, tracks, and streets. For design or historic design review proposals, focuses on proposal design. If proposed development meets zoning rules, focuses on the proposal, not if it should be built. So this has gone through a pre-conference, which happens with type 2, type 3 land use. So at this time, Don?
Thank you, Sam. Don Hanson again with OTAK, the planner for the project. I think I've met a number of you before. Jerry Offer is also working with me on the project. He's sitting right there, and I'm sure he'll feel free to correct anything I say as I go along. What I'll do is provide an overview of the project briefly, talk about it, and then I'm going to address 4 questions. And the questions were posed by your land use chair, Rob. They're good questions. So I'll attempt to address those at this point. Basically what we're proposing, first of all, orientation. Here's Taylor's Ferry Road, right here. Hume here, Ruby Terrace there.
Slower, please. I'll point it right out.
Okay. Here's Taylor's Ferry Road, along here on the bottom of the map. North direction is up. Hume Street, the right-of-way is right here. Ruby Terrace is over in this area. Okay? And then Ruby Creek moves through there at a diagonal green space. Is that all right? Okay, great. Here's what we're proposing. We're proposing 23 single-family home sites. They're all 5,000 square feet minimum size. The site area that is in both yellow and green there totals approximately 13.4 acres. The development area potential I've outlined in a dark block line on this map is about 5.7 acres. Of that, to construct the streets, do the drainage systems, utility systems, and the lots themselves will impact approximately 3.4 acres. So we're essentially contracting that footprint with the 5,000 square foot lots. Access is from Taylor's Ferry Road. We're extending the road down in this location, right here, and up into the project. And then there's a cul-de-sac road with parking allowed on both sides proposed to provide frontage to lots. Hume Street, I'm going to come back to Hume Street. That's the connection point to Ruby Terrace. I'll talk about it a little further later. But right now what we're proposing, and what we proposed at our pre-app conference, is a 20-foot wide paved surface, not a full city street. Whether we make that connection is still up in the air. I'll come back to that issue. Okay? We by reducing the density, we've been able to eliminate some retaining walls for the project also. Earlier, we had lot areas right up to the edge of the lots on Ruby Terrace, as well as right up to the edge of the open space zone here that required retaining walls. Those are gone from our plan now. We're proposing a 50-foot wide tree preserve area, open space tract, along here between our lots and the lots on Ruby Terrace, and also about a 60-foot down to a 30-foot buffer along the edge of the land that's owned open space. It's to the right of this image. We also, there's one thing we changed on the plan since our pre-app, and I know some of you were there. We added a sidewalk right here that connects over to Ruby Terrace from our cul-de-sac. The city requested that revision to provide more connections, pedestrian connections. Okay, on to the questions. Rob posed a question about the environmental impacts and what's changed from from our prior proposal. And overall, it's a reduction. The impact area was over 8 acres in our prior 46 lot application. It's down to 3.4 acres, so it's less than half of the impact. Tree removal, as you all know, the trees are dense on the site. It's basically a maple forest. And we are down to 462 trees removed from 879 before. So again, we're kind of half the impact. And the development lots are down to 23 from 46 on our prior plan. Mitigation. Since we're going through an environmental review process, we need to mitigate for the trees that we're removing in the area that we're impacting on site. We're still formulating concepts for that. Our environmental consultant is working directly with the Bureau of Development Service staff, as well as the Bureau of Environmental Services on the particulars of that. But here's what our emphasis would be. Our emphasis is going to be stream restoration on Ruby Creek, which runs diagonally into Stevens Creek. Currently, there's a great deal of erosion along that creek. There's a sewer line in it, public sewer line that serves many of your homes up above. It's got some issues. It's been washed out a little bit. It's daylighted, actually, in some locations. So we want to begin to focus our mitigation efforts on that corridor. Fixing things in terms of the line itself, the utilities, revegetating the corridor, and doing some kind of bank stabilization in there also. So we're going to begin with that in terms of our priorities on impact mitigation. The other question Rob had is on landslide mitigation. We have a geotech engineer on our team, a soils expert, basically in more English terms. He is looking at that very closely. All of the drainage systems that we're going to put in on our street systems, as well as from our homes, will improve that to a degree. We're doing roadside swales along our public roads, and then there'd be an outfall that goes down to Ruby Creek, parallel to a sewer line. In addition to that, he's proposing deep drain lines to essentially dewater the site and dry it out. And this is one of the concerns Rob had, is how do we maintain those long term? Who's in charge of that? And how do we clean them out if they get plugged up? Before we showed them in a kind of a radial configuration on the site, so some of them actually went under homes, deep though, way under homes, not like in the crawl space. And we're looking at redoing that because the Bureau of Environmental Service voiced a very similar concern as your land use chair. How are we going to maintain those? How do we get access to them? We're shifting to a system that parallels the home sites in the street, so there's always access to it. The city doesn't want us to cross the road system that we're proposing with them, but rather parallel. So we're reevaluating that right now. We should have our final report in draft form probably next week. Okay. Also, the other thing about that deep drain system is they don't want it to go into the storm system. They want a separate outfall that again will go down to Ruby Creek. Traffic, I'll just say a few words about traffic. We're proposing a intersection on Taylor's Ferry Road that will have a right out and a right in and a left in, a left turn pocket on Taylor's Ferry Road. And we're going to do that with some widening and some restriping, so it's a safe turn. I've been up there quite a bit in this neighborhood, and people move fast on Taylor's Ferry Road when they're not sitting in traffic, that is. And so we think it's a good idea to have that safety pocket for two movements. We're evaluating a left out also, but the city has some safety concerns about that we have not addressed yet, and will. But I know it'll at least be a right in, right out, and then a left in coming down the hill. Okay. Now the other traffic concern is connecting Hume Street to Ruby Terrace. And I think that's the most popular concern in this room. The city has policies for connectivity, and they're going to push us to connect that road. We currently propose less than a wide standard road with parking on it because people have landscaping along that track, and there's actually some driveways that slope up away from it, parallel to home sites to the south. So we're proposing a 20-foot wide surface through there for lower traffic volumes. And the Water Bureau also wants a surface they can drive on to maintain the water line that'll be put in there. You know, we're pretty neutral on this issue. Closing it off from our perspective is not an issue. But you know, I don't think it's going to be my decision, and I don't think it's going to be our client's decision. I think the city is going to be the decision maker on that. So we're proposing it as a road that would be maybe bollard and chain or a gate, so people can easily walk through there to go through there, but maybe not drive through. So that's what we're looking at right now as an option. But you know, stay tuned on that one. Stay tuned. I can't commit to you that it's going to happen. Okay. There's one other point that Rob brought up, and Rob, this is number 4. The purpose of all the tracks, the green areas that you see on this map. The big horseshoe one on the top, I've talked about. It protects Stevens Creek. It protects the tributary Ruby Creek. You know, it's basically, there won't be any development in that area. There'll just be repair work. The triangular track we have here is just for extra landscape and hopefully tree preservation along Taylor's Ferry Road. At the end of the day, we may incorporate that one into these 2 lots. This triangular parcel here is right at the edge of our property. And we see it as a landscape track, you know, ornamental landscape, but coming into the project. But I want to make it real clear, we're keeping a portion of the old Hume right-of-way, a narrow tract, so we could do an access drive to get into the open space zone land that's adjacent to us, and to potentially provide access to a couple of home sites here that can't take access from Taylor's Ferry Road. So I just want to make that real clear. We're not sneaking around, I'm showing it on the map here. Okay. That's it, Sam, that's the end of my overview. Not sure where you want to go from here.
Don, can I add a few things?
Yeah, you have to use the microphone.
Give you a couple things I think you missed that I think we want some reaction from the neighborhood about. And we had talked to the city representatives, including the representatives of the Bureau of Transportation, about what their typical street improvement requirements are. There are some that we have heard from some of the neighbors that they would not like to see. Typically, the city would require us to improve this frontage of Ruby Terrace with a sidewalk curb and street widening, and we could care less about that. We're going to ask for a modification to leave it as it is. We are willing to dedicate the right-of-way in case there is a need in the future if the street is ever widened and improved, but we don't see a need to do that widening now, especially for about a 125-foot long strip. And we have a similar situation up on Carson Street, up at the very north end of our property, where, again, we've got maybe 125, 175 feet of road frontage. We're not having any lots up there. We shouldn't be contributing any traffic to there. And just like this situation where the road abuts this open space tract, it is zoned with the environmental conservation and the environmental protection zone. So we don't see a need for doing street improvements there, and we'd like to get your reaction on that. If we do go ahead with our request for a modification, it would help if we got some support from the neighbors on that.
Just a clarification, that's Candy, not Carson.
Yeah, excuse me. Got the first 2 letters.
Yep, that's right.
It's been a while. Also, we will be requesting modifications to keep this as narrow as possible. And as Don said, we don't need it for anything that would serve this development. We're just trying to get an approval from the city. So if the fire department and the water department are saying they need access through there, they need a paved access, we're willing to provide that, but we're willing for that to be an emergency vehicle access only. But we're also willing, the development team, if the city says that they need that to be a through street. I guess we accept that, but it's nothing that's important to us. I think that's it as far as the road modifications.
Thanks, Jerry. I'm going to just say a few things about the process, Sam, and then I'll wrap up. We're going to go through a type 3 land use approval with the city of Portland. That goes to a hearings officer. Here's the basic process. We intend to finish our application and submit it to the city during the month of November. I'm giving you very approximate dates here. The city will take 30 days, hopefully a little less, to do a completeness check on it, and then request further information from us if it's necessary. And typically there's always something. Then we resubmit that just additional information, and then they prepare their staff report, prepare a hearing. So on that timeline, we would suspect that we are at hearings officer month of February? Month of February, approximately.
Late February, early March.
Yeah, so, and when that's set, and when the staff report is complete, your neighborhood association, Sam, will receive notice of that, so that you can comment in writing, and also people that live a certain radius around the property, and I forget is it 250 or 400 feet? Anyway, people around will be individually notified by mail. You'll have an opportunity to respond in writing with concerns that you may have, and also attend the hearing and testify in person. So Sam, that concludes our comments.
I have a couple of questions. Mike?
So the Hume connection going to the east, you said, is going to serve 2 existing houses, or is it a future development? The one to the east?
The ones that go this way, right
Right.
here.
Yeah,
we're just keeping a flagpole because there are several lots of record in here, and it also could provide emergency access into the open space tract. We don't propose it as a major street. Okay.
And there's no improvement or no plans for future development of the open space for residential?
No.
Where is tract B?
Tract B, I believe, is just this small triangle that I referenced right here.
Oh, I see.
Between the lots and Taylor's Ferry property.
We were told that by the Bureau of Transportation that no development could be approved there because the intersection of Taylor's Ferry and Tully Grove was failing. How are you addressing that?
Well, I think we're addressing it by reducing our density for starters, and we haven't gotten that feedback from
They kind of told us that there was zero allowance for additional density. What's your knowledge?
They haven't told us there's zero tolerance, so that's what I can report right now, right?
And then how much cut-through traffic? I know you said you're trying to not improve Hume, but inevitably you're going to have to address the failure for Taylor's Ferry. How much cut-through traffic will there be from Hume to Ruby Terrace and Fifth to Troy to Tulliver?
It's a tough cut through to Troy. I don't know, it would be in our traffic report, but it's not tougher than waiting in line, that's probably why you're laughing. It'll be in our traffic study. We'll have a distribution model.
But what are your thoughts
I
right
don't
now?
have a gut hunch on it right now.
Is it half of 10 times 23?
Half times what?
Half, 23 houses, 10 trips a day, times half, times 50%, what do you think?
Good hunch.
I think that's a good hunch.
Yeah, right
Well, that's
there.
sizable. No, I have 2 more quick questions.
Well, we've got
let's
3
spread
other
it
people
around.
back
Let's
there.
spread it around.
We'll circle back to it. Yeah.
Do you have any influence, or does the developer on construction traffic during construction?
Yes, we do.
So that they can.
Yeah, as part of what we're doing, we'll have to do a traffic management plan for our construction vehicles. Right now, we intend to bring them all in off of Taylor's Ferry and not through the neighborhood, because I know Ruby Terrace is not in great shape to begin with.
Will you be pushing for a left-out turn signal on Taylor's Ferry? I think in the future, when you have residents there, and they want to get downtown, they'll be very tempted to take that left turn out. So, or they probably will, and if there's no signal, it'll be greater risk than if there was a signalized left turn out.
Yeah, we're considering the left out right now, and I'm sorry I don't have a detailed answer for you on whether we're going to push hard for that. In terms of if there's a signal, I don't think it would meet signal warrants signal was installed to be based on its safety response. So, yeah, but
I got here late, I apologize if this hasn't been
that's
covered.
okay.
I saw the cross section of Taylor Square Road, and I use it every daily, and I'm opposed to what I saw, the bike lane, which I assume would be against the north side, especially the north side of Taylor Square Road, because I don't see how the capacity of the width of the present Taylor Square Road could accommodate that. I think having 2 lanes going uphill is essential because of vehicles going slow.
Got trucks and buses.
And is that is that something the developers want and owners, or is that something the city's wanting?
The city will make the call.
Can the developer maybe not propose that, or I don't know how the rest of the neighborhood feels about it, but I'm a biker and I would not want to use Taylor Ferry Road even if.
I mean, it's too steep, too slow, and too narrow for that.
Yeah, it's
I
dangerous.
think we're required to do frontage improvements right now on Taylor's Ferry and here, and I think that's going to include a sidewalk that's separated from Taylor's Ferry Road.
On the
I'm
south
not
side.
sure about striped bike lane.
On the south side,
No. This would be the north side, across our frontage.
or just on the frontage there. But then it goes nowhere then, because there's,
The sidewalk from nowhere to nowhere.
Yeah, that's.
It happens everywhere in the city. It's how they build systems incrementally. They don't, yeah. Yeah, over here.
What legal assurances do we have that there's no future development?
What?
What legal assurances do we have that there will be no future development
Future development where?
off of Hume
Right in here?
or beyond?
big open area.
There's no assurance. It's zoned open space right now. If we ever proposed anything there, it would go through the zone change process, which is a very rigorous review. It would go to a hearings officer, then it would go up to city council. So it's a very intense process with a high level of scrutiny, and certainly the neighborhood association would stand informed of that. Okay? All I can assure you is that if it was proposed, it would be a very intensive process. Okay? Yeah, back there.
Tract A, the green space there now, you referred to it as, no, I think it's the, I'm sorry.
Large
Yeah,
space.
gray,
Big
green,
one.
all of that on each side and up above to the north. That currently has been called open space, but it's zoned residential, isn't it?
It's zoned R10C with a conservation overlay. It's not zoned open space.
Right, and so my question is just about that. I heard you say there's no plans for development, there will be no development there. Will there be a move to try and rezone that as open space?
You know, our thought right now is we don't want to do the zone change to open space. When we started this whole process, and I'm going to give you a little history here on this. We engaged with the Portland Park Bureau. They were interested in acquiring that large green area. They backed away from that notion completely, and haven't shown up at our pre-app. There's been no dialogue between them and us, or them and the other bureaus of the city. But that doesn't mean it's going to be open space, and we're going to put it in a track that's labeled specifically for open space and preservation, and it'll be owned by 23 homeowners, the homeowners association within our project. So that's how we propose handling the future of that green area.
So,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is there will be in the deeds for the 23 properties, language that encumbers future development in that northern section?
The area that's green?
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll basically be a homeowners association controlled open space tract. Okay. Yeah, in the back.
So as the city asked you to put a sidewalk or a pathway in there, the previous application, there was a lot of talk about play structures, park-like features. Is there anything planned?
Actually, we're not
Required?
proposing. Yeah, we're not proposing any playgrounds right now. Our thought is we just do the sidewalk and we preserve the open space, the vegetation that's there right now. Yeah.
I wasn't clear about
going down Taylor's Ferry, making a left-hand turn, you said there might be a way of doing that, but now it's just one lane of traffic going downhill. I wasn't clear about how that's going to happen.
What we're thinking about doing is it's called a road diet, actually, kind of restriping the roadway and making more efficient use of the width of pavement that's there. There'll probably be some additional pavement. So there'd still be, I think, 2 lanes going uphill, 1 coming down, and a left turn pocket. Whether there's 2 going uphill, you know, I think someone earlier she left her glasses too, by the way, on the chairs. Yeah. Whether we have 2 lanes going uphill remains to be seen. I like the idea of keeping 2 lanes, because if you get behind a bus or you get behind a slow-moving truck, it slows things down going up that hill. Does that answer your question?
So you're thinking for over a stretch, you would take...
You taper into it.
Okay. So going uphill, it would be 1 lane for 50 yards or something.
And a little more than that, yeah. Yeah, other questions? Right here.
I believe you said that this narrow road, 20 feet, I believe you said, on Hume, that empties into Ruby Terrace, was going to be mainly for emergency vehicles.
That's our hope.
Except that someone just mentioned, and I believe this is true, that those commuters who will be wanting to go to the city of Portland are going to want to exit on Taylor's Ferry and turn left. Now, right? Because they're going to want to go to,
Rather than going
Portland.
up
So
the
now
road.
they're going to be forced to go through Hume and out that way, which means then they go up Ruby Terrace, and then by necessity, they must go out on Troy and Terwilliger, which is an extremely dangerous, what do you call that, short street there?
So
There's room
yeah.
for 2 cars, 2 cars only. I have gone over the curb a number of times trying to avoid the car that was waiting uphill. So there needs to be some mitigation at that area as well for the increased number of cars, number 1. And number 2, for cars coming out from Hume onto Ruby Terrace, there needs to be some kind of a stoplight, and the road will need serious repair in there,
Yeah, it's gravel.
as you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a stop sign. It wouldn't be a stop light.
What's that? Stop
It'd be a
sign?
stop sign.
Stop sign?
Okay.
Yeah, good luck.
It would be a stop sign. Yeah, in the back.
Are you having a new traffic study done for this plan from
Yeah.
scratch?
They're preparing it right now, and it's in draft form, Jerry, probably end of next week. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a new study for this specific plan.
Yes.
And how are you taking into account the whole Selwood Bridge issue and how that affects our area? Because it affects it significantly.
Yeah, it will be factored in. All I can say since our traffic engineer here isn't here, and he'll be chastised for that, by the way. All I can say is that it will be factored in. And it'll be in our new TIS, our new traffic impact study. Did you have a question?
Yes, could you go over again what you were talking about with Canby Street, since the name was wrong? I didn't.
Canby up here in the corner.
Yeah.
Currently, there's a portion of Canby Street that's what we call paper right-of-way. It's dedicated, but there's no improvements. And it basically sticks out into the air because the slope underneath it is so steep. We do not intend to do any improvements on that road. We'll leave it as it is. Because an improvement or any widening would just require huge impacts in retaining walls, et cetera. So we're, as Jerry said, we're going to request an exception to the standard, basically, on that. Okay. Yeah.
When did you do the traffic studies
We think we'll have a draft towards the end of next week.
And will it be for review? I mean, when will be?
It'll be for our review initially.
When will we see the traffic study?
Probably when we submit the application. Ron? Yeah.
Does the study include new counts on intersections, or is it you just looking at your old data?
We're looking at old data.
So how are you going to address the right-hand turn out restriction on Troy and Terwilliger right now?
Yeah, oh yeah, you mean no turn on the red line. I think it will factor in that change. So I'm not sure, Ron.
Okay.
If I'm not sure, I'd say I'm not sure.
Get it.
If I could take a minute, we've got about
6 more minutes, and I've seen 5 hands up, so
60-second drill. Right here.
Real quickly, the nice curve coming off of Taylor's Ferry there, that part is really not part of Hume. Hume goes straight down. So you have more opportunity there. Have you considered a gated community? I know that the city frowns on those. They don't like them.
Yeah, the city, they go beyond frowning on them. They're not allowed.
Oh, is that
Especially
right?
on a public road connection.
That's why I was saying that part's really not, it's not really part of Hume. It's connecting to Hume.
Yeah, yeah. I think, if we were able to do any gate, it would be where Hume extends towards Ruby Terrace. Okay. Go over here.
The far west strip of green space right behind the development.
Right here.
Separating the 4 houses. At the preamp, Kate Green seemed to me, my impression was, she wanted the whole community moved to the west and not have that green space there. And then there was some discussion about it, with there being a kind of like a sinkhole or something. Did you have any, so anything changed since then?
My opinion hasn't changed. I want to leave that 50-foot buffer there. And I'm actually going up tomorrow or Monday to look at the sink area. And it's actually on the side of their home site, right rather than back in the 50-foot buffer. I want to keep it intact as a 50-foot buffer and separation between the existing lots.
So just a clarification too, they didn't say that it couldn't be done, they just had to prove why it would be better to have it in this configuration as opposed to moving it to the west.
That's accurate.
So that's part of what a pre-app does, is they try to guide them on what they need to address.
Yeah. Yeah, back there.
Yes, I apologize, I was here late, but I live on this side of the Terwilliger, Taylor's Ferry, more like the west of Terwilliger. And there's a traffic situation where on rush hour, when you're going up the hill, Spring Gardens, that becomes Taylor's Ferry, it's really slow and you have to go through several lights. My question is, has this been studied in the traffic study, is how your new building will affect the west side of Terwilliger? And if not, will you please do it?
Well, you appreciate that. The Terwilliger Taylor's Ferry Road intersection will be included in our study. And also the Troy Terwilliger intersection.
So the west side of Terwilliger.
The study of that intersection will also encompass traffic coming from the west towards that intersection. It's a real tight situation there. There's not a lot of extra right-of-way or room. You all know that corner. There's development on all 4 corners. It's up really tight to it. It's a challenging situation.
well, we can knock out the high-price gas station. Give it in.
It's all gasoline or coffee.
Well, Santa Street, that's accessed from Southport Neighborhood Association, is that, you mentioned that the homeowners, the 23 lots or whatever, would have jurisdiction or own that portion, that would not be developed ever?
Their homeowners association will own it. So collectively, they'll own it, and there'll be CC&Rs that restrict the use of that open space. So they can't sell it to you or anyone else for another use. Yeah.
So all that area so all that access land from Canby Street will be owned by these homeowners?
Yeah, they'll be in an open space tract, yes.
Will we be taxed for that land?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I would think that there'd be some tax on it. It's zoned R10, even though it's not, no development potential on it. But if it's designated open space, it'd be a reduced tax. Yeah.
This is just thinking about the scale of the buildings, because I know most likely they'll be 2 stories would be a pretty good assumption, so they're going to be 30 feet plus.
Yeah, the restriction is 35 feet.
Okay, and that's the mid roof line, so it could actually be taller if you measure from the base of curve to the top of the roof itself.
To peak.
Right, it could be 40 feet, maybe more, depending on the slope.
Yeah.
My point is, we're trying to get buffer mitigation to happen for those type of developments. So if we can either increase the planter strip in the front of these developments,
yeah,
or provide additional parking in front of these units, I think you'll see less people complaining about the scale or out of scale character of these buildings.
So the streetscape essentially.
Exactly.
Make sure the houses don't crowd this streetscape.
And we provide some open space for tree planting of significant size.
We have that. We have a pretty generous planting strip between sidewalk and curb. We'll be able to do that.
Because you talked about that being a stormwater mitigation area, possibly, right?
Okay. You were very accurate when you were saying that one of the biggest concerns that remains is the tie-in on the roof terrace from Hume.
Yeah, I suspected that.
And in your experience, what precedents have you seen in developments that you've been involved with where you've successfully had emergency-only type access?
Well, you know what I think is a benefit here? I think a benefit is that we added that sidewalk. So there's a good connection from the cul-de-sac over to Ruby Terrace. And there's nothing to say that this 20-foot wide paved lane wouldn't also be a great pedestrian route for people going through their trick-or-treaters, whatever. They can get from one neighborhood to another. It's just the vehicular connection. And you know, there's been precedent where narrower streets or even kind of restricted streets have been used. You know, I just don't want to fill you with optimism on that point, because I don't control the decision, but we're certainly going to argue for it.
Okay. Well, and I'm trying to sense how rigorously you will argue for it, because it is, you know, that's one thing that could just get us back to the impact. Also, the potential for other egress out of the neighborhood, everything that you have currently moves out. If the roadway from Hume onto Ruby Terrace was open, you would have that egress also from, the tie-in to Taylor's Ferry.
Right, where Troy is?
Yeah.
Back over towards Taylor's Ferry.
Yeah, you have a right out only. So all traffic out of that neighborhood, the way you describe the traffic setup right now, would be moving uphill. There would be no access currently without going around on the second to turn left to go down. So everything that you've described so far, maybe I missed some, but you have a right out onto Taylor's Ferry or a right out onto Ruby Terrace. So everything's moving uphill. Am I making myself clear?
No, that's a fair point, because people would make that turn movement, not here, and it doesn't show very well, I'm sorry. They won't make it here because it's not improved, but they'll make it one block over.
Right.
I think that's what you're pointing out, right?
That's what I'm pointing out, and so the way you're set up right now is that everything moves uphill, leaving the neighborhood. Have we had any consideration for other roadways from maybe the end of the cul-de-sac down that ties further down onto Taylor's Ferry where it's a little bit more accessible, better?
Well, maybe I'll say a few words about that. This is 100 feet above this. I'm estimating here, it's approximately 100 feet. So, tough to build a road down that slope. It's impactful, it'd go through the open space zone land. You would go through the Abbey's functional area. It'd be extremely difficult to implement, if not impossible to get approved. Okay? We're locked in. All right.
What can the neighbors on Ruby Terrace especially do to help you in your fight with the city on that one issue?
We may request some letters from you to support the notion, okay? And maybe we'll coordinate through Sam and through Rob.
Can we attend your meeting, the ARC meeting?
Can you what?
Can we attend it?
I think so, Jerry. It's a public meeting. The ARC is an adjustment review committee of the city that we'd be taking this issue to. I think it'd be great, especially Rob, you were able to attend and a few other folks. Okay.
You're better equipped to prepare precedents around the city with regard to emergency access type situation.
Yeah.
Is that something you would help the neighborhood better understand where these types of conditions exist in the city? And that would give us an opportunity to understand how those developments successfully got those sorts of transportation situations implemented.
Happy to do so.
One more question. One only, Al?
Thank you. The earlier plan and one of your drawings here labels track A as an extension to the east from the panhandle up here. I know that's not in your drawing here. Are there plans for that segment?
Are you talking about this?
No, he's talking about the whole
The panhandle at the top.
When the north lot, yeah, the north side was.
Where we had development before.
Yeah.
We're not showing any development, and that's not part of our application. We eliminated that from our application.
Well, then, my question then wasn't quite answered properly then. That's what I was referring to, the access from Kelly Street and those other streets. I thought, my question was clear, that was that land going to be put into this ownership of the 23 lots, that it can't be developed in the future?
It will not be. It'll be held separate as a separate parcel.
Meaning it can be developed?
Yes. It could be in the future with a separate application.
You're referring to the cul-de-sac on Hood Street, is that proper?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically this land area up here. We've removed it from our application, but that doesn't restrict someone else from doing something they're proposing something in the future. Okay? I'm just being real straightforward about it. Yeah. Oh, wait, we're past one more question.
I know.
So going back to the environmental and the geotechnical side, I'm really concerned if the land flows downhill and there's a big tract between the mausoleum and this development that is designated open space right now, and there's a lot being put into deep water, this particular site, what the possible negative effects it's going to have on the downslope open space, and what kind of impact is it going to have, because it sounds like you're pouring all of that water into Ruby Creek, which is a feeder to Stevens Creek, which is still a habitat for spawning fish.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I think I don't think putting these drain lines up on the hill is going to influence the land down below, because as you mentioned, they're going to be conducted over to Ruby Creek. We'll be required to meter that water out at a pre-development rate into Ruby Creek. So it's not going to gush through there into Ruby.
But right now, as the water falls, it falls and it trickles into the earth, and it also trickles downhill. So by dewatering that site, aren't you essentially also robbing water from the open space below?
I don't think so, actually. I don't know. I'll consider it further. Don't have a solid answer for you right now. Okay, Sam? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry and Don have given us a little overview tonight, and they've also given you a little insight into when they expect to have this application going in and coming forward. So be aware of it. Start thinking about